Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, November 8th, 2019.
Good morning, President James. Commissioners James, Villegas, Garcia, Davis, and Caloza are present, and we do have a quorum. May we please start with Bureau introductions, beginning with sanitation.
Good morning, Marcy Reyes with LA Sanitation and Environment.
Good morning, Yaling Tim, Bureau of Street Services, Streets to LA.
Good morning, Sandy Turum, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Jose Fuentes, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Roosevelt Bagby, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
And good morning, TJ Knight, Assistant Executive Officer. We do have a speaker card under public comments and on items 1 through 5 and also item 7. We have no neighborhood council commentary this morning.
All right, thank you.
I just received a speaker card on agenda item 6 as well.
All right. Agenda item number 3, Council District 8, Office of Community Beautification, Contract Amendment, Coalition for Responsible Community Development. Recommending that the board authorize OCB to execute a contract amendment with the Coalition for Responsible Community Development in the amount of $350,000 to provide funding for supplemental community beautification services in Council District 8. Secondly, authorize myself or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendment after approval as to form has been obtained by the Office of the City Attorney. Mr. Herman, you have a card in on number 3. What number, sir? Number 3.
You have 2 agendas, and is it the back agenda or the first agenda? Number 3, CD8, fucking Dawson. Look at this motherfucker. Community development. Is Mr. Dawson really fucking responsible? His actions don't speak based on what his constituents are saying about amoeba. I'm here representing amoeba. I'm black. You think I don't want to live in my community after you built this fucking Tower of Hades? Let's call it the Dawson Building of Babel out there off of Crenshaw. Yeah, right up that Culver City line, where not one black motherfucker like me can find a place to call home in my own community. Take away our resources, take away our property. All this is bad business. And you people in the audience don't seem to care and understand how ruthless, hopeless, and pathetic the city of Los Angeles is when it comes to development. So I'm here in opposition to the president, its 2 members of the Board of Public Works who have executed a contract in amendment. No, fuck your amendment. Because under HUD, under LASA, I plan to bring a lawsuit for discrimination on your community development. And if you continue to steal money that is reserved specifically for projects under state and federal law, I will bring Ben Carson myself into this building based on the United States versus California 42 U.S.C. Fuck you.
Mr. Roch on number 3.
Good morning, Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. And if it's okay, I mean, basically, agenda items 3 and 4 are pretty much the same things. I will talk about them both right now.
Go ahead. I call them separately, but you can go ahead and talk about them both.
Great. The Office of Community Beautification, through our contracts with nonprofit community-based organizations, provides numerous services aimed at cleaning and beautifying the various neighborhoods of Los Angeles. Such services include graffiti removal, public right-of-way cleanup, litter and weed abatement, etc. In many cases, the various council offices will supplement the funding in order to enhance the services provided in their districts. This morning, we seek board approval to amend an existing contract with the Coalition for Responsible Community Development in order to provide funds that have been transferred from the offices of Councilmember Harris Dawson and the office of Councilmember Price. CRCD is one of the nonprofit community-based organizations under contract with the OCB. They are located in South Los Angeles and hire youth and young adults from that community in order to provide these services. So in addition to helping clean and improve South LA, these funds also provide job opportunities to residents of the area. In Council District 8, Councilmember Harris Dawson has identified AB 1290 funds in order to provide enhanced bulky item pickup, weed abatement, litter cleanup, and power washing of sidewalks. In Council District 9, Councilmember Price has identified funds as part of the General City Purposes Fund in order to provide enhanced bulky item collection, weed abatement, litter cleanup, trash, and debris removal along the public way. So this morning, the Office of Community Beautification respectfully requests board approval to amend the existing contract with the Coalition for Responsible Community Development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We'll take any questions on Council District 8, number 3. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioners Garcia and Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending that forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. Let me call number 4, Paul, even though you explained it. This is Council District 9. Also a contract amendment for Coalition for Responsible Community Development, authorizing OCB to execute the contract amendment with the Coalition for Responsible Community Development in the amount of $350,000 to provide funding for services under the Clean Streets Initiative in Council District 9. And secondly, authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract amendment after approval as to form has been obtained by the Office of the City Attorney. Mr. Herman, you have a card in on number 4. You do.
Sure? Yeah, you're right. Curran Price, the bigamist, who accused Wayne Spindler before the public, announcing that Mr. Spindler was a terrorist, acting, behaving irresponsible. But no, CD9 Curran Price actions are inappropriate, having 2 wives and stealing development money. How do we expand community development or community beautification if we got this constant stealing, abuse, and waste that's so toxic? You always point the fingers at African Americans like myself, a dark-skinned brother who knows for a fact Curran Price is a fucking racist to his own kind, which is himself a white biggest pig from the city of Los Angeles, bringing shame, not beautification, shame to his own people like me, dark-skinned people, letting white motherfuckers come in there and saying, oh, we gotta power hose our streets and clean them. Well, I should have been doing that all along. What about in District 8, Dawson? What about Watts? What about all this shit that you don't do? It's wasteful, discouraging. And as long as I got breath in my lungs, with my COPD, with my asthma, created by the chinchero, in English, shit that you have on our streets, I will keep coming here demanding the city, the elected officials, all you goddamn white niggers to fix the problem.
2 minutes.
On number 4, is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 4 by Commissioner Villegas and Commissioner Davis? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Any issue sending 4 forthwith? We'll send number 4 forthwith. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Friday, November 1, 2019 by Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Villegas? Any objection? Without objection, those meeting minutes will be approved. A couple of administrative items. Agenda item number 8. The mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works to execute the contract with MRS Environmental Incorporated for an annual oil well and facilities compliance inspection program. This is coming back for signature. Mr. Herman on number 8.
Do any of you know who the mayor is? Do any one of you know who the mayor is, for the record? Because our mayor, Kaka Eric Garcetti, the mayor of Los Angeles, is a result of the MRS Environmental Public Works, not well facilities, out of compliance inspection program, for the record. Mr. Jordan, our city attorney, because the mayor has the authority to execute the contracts in the most appropriate transparency to us all. But yet, we have not impeached that motherfucker. There's only one way to save America, and that's to hear an asshole like me talk about my 45th president, in which that bitch Pelosi wants to get out of Washington. If it wasn't for the United States of America president, our 45th president, over the caca shit of Mayor Eric Garcetti, we be fucked. So I know for a fact when I vote for our mayor, it will not be anywhere but for President Donald Trump. I like spoilers. I like people who take action, build the fucking wall, and make America great once and for all again.
So as I said, number 8 is coming back for signature. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 8 forthwith? By Commissioners Caloza and Garcia. Any objection? Oh, and Villegas, I'm sorry. It all came from a number of different places. So you have that, TJ? I've got Villegas, Caloza, and Garcia.
Yes, I have it, President.
So any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 8. Any issue sending number 8 forthwith? We'll send number 8 forthwith. Another item that's coming back for signature is number 9. The mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works on behalf of the Bureau of Engineering to execute amendment number 1 to 30 pre-qualified on-call contracts for small construction and repair services for the sidewalk repair program. Mr. Herman, you have a card on number 9.
Yes, the COL, definition under color of law, deprivation and denial that this institution of local government, its entity, under the color of any law under 18 U.S.C. 242 for the record, Mr. Jordan, Willits versus Los Angeles. $30 million and I don't have safe streets. And you want me to walk around those fucking vendors who occupy public right-of-way, path of travel, and I have to step into the street under 18 U.S.C. 245, provided that whoever deprive the deprivation of any person from participating or enjoying any benefit, service, privilege, program, facility, activity shall not be discriminated in my point of view, from my discretion of view. Fix those fucking curbs and sidewalks. Put the infrastructure, as I said, back in its order and place. Let's get people working. Let's put African Americans first to work, because you discriminate against minorities, and I got it down for a fact. 42 U.S.C. 1983, the Constitution of Laws, and I am here in opposition to your bullshit Mayor Eric Garcetti. Fuck you for your discrimination. Fuck you for housing. And let's get our sidewalk and streets moving so people can have a safe place to walk and don't have to step into the goddamn street and become another hit and run capital of the world, Los Angeles, California, for the record. ADA, Title 2, Title 3, discrimination. Get it to your fucking head. Discrimination.
2 minutes.
Again, number 9 is an item that's just coming back for signature. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 9 forthwith by Commissioner Caloza and Commissioner Davis? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 10, specifications are submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids. This is in Council District 4 for the street lighting conduit only project, Unit 8, high voltage conversion for this fiscal year 1920. The estimate is $2,823,000. The bid receipt date will be on December 18th, 2019. And we also have in Council Districts 3, 4, 5, and 7, the street lighting conduit only project, Unit 9, high voltage conversion, also for this fiscal year. Estimate $2,342,550. Bid receipt date also of December 18th, 2019. Mr. Jordan, just a quick question. We've got these 2 items to solicit bids on. Is it okay that we put 2 items in agenda item number 10? We normally divide them up.
Yeah, they're both clearly identified in the agenda item, so you can have both of these projects bids under one bid item.
All right. Mr. Herman, you have a card in on number 10.
I have a public comment card on all items. So legal notice and warning by federal law provide that in a crime to violate the rights, Mr. City Attorney, of a citizen under the color of law, you can be arrested for the crimes, and you can also be held responsible for liable action for civil damages. Those damages come by one and only David Rue, who again, under Edison, PG&E, has shut the fucking power off because you shitheads don't get together to keep the electricity going. For years I've been talking about the poor infrastructure, and that's the reason why we're in this condition today. Today, 20th century, fucking satellites all orbiting the earth, and we can't have electricity. But yet we burn the 405 down, we burn the fucking Getty City down, we burn it all the way to Malibu, and you allow this shit by Edison and this corrupted shit by PG&E and all those electrical municipality motherfuckers who gouge us. It's time to get control of yourself. It's time to understand that I represent the public's benefit, service, privilege, activity. And we will not tolerate asshole, pencil-neck, shrewd little shitholes who sit here and discriminate on the basis of my action. You want me to tone it down? Then fulfill my dream. I, like Martin Luther King, have a dream.
2 minutes.
That I too want to see golden
Your
pastures.
time is up. On agenda item number 10, is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 10 forthwith for these two items for bids by Commissioners Garcia and Davis? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 10. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 10 forthwith. That's it for our administrative items. Agenda item number 2 is a task order solicitation number 58, pre-qualified on-call civil engineering services consultants list, Somas and Associates, recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue the task to Somas and Associates from the pre-qualified on-call civil engineering services consultants list to provide project management services for the sidewalk repair program access request acceleration project as stated in TOS number 58 with a budget authority of $2,132,836, which does include contingency. Mr. Herman on number 2. Number 2.
So you hear?
Stop,
I've
sir,
complained
sir.
about sidewalks and streets.
Mr. Herman?
Mr. Herman, you have
Your
1
time-
minute.
Yeah, we've held your time, so it's not running. So
Pardon me?
We're holding your time right now, so this discussion's not taking your time. However, the executive officer wanted to advise you that based on the 10-minute rule, you don't have 2 minutes left. How much time does he have left?
1 minute, 40 seconds.
So we'll call your time after 1 minute and 40 seconds.
I'll use up that time right now, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Discrimination, retaliation, and this fucking city has targeted Armando Herman, Wayne Spindler, Michael Hunt, Antonio Ramirez, Mr. Greenspan, Eric Previn. Why? Because we point out facts that you're stealing money, you're abusive. The FBI anniversary of this week against the city of Los Angeles for that fucking wetback, corrupted motherfucker from Zacatecas, Jose Huizar, District 14, 42 U.S.C. 1983. Go back, wetback, to jail.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. On agenda item number 2, Mr. Vega? Hi. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Robert Vega, Program Manager for the Bureau of Engineering Sidewalk Repair Program. This item is to issue the task to SOMAS from the amended pre-qualified on-call civil engineering service consultants list to provide project management services for the sidewalk repair access request acceleration project. In the way of background, in fiscal year 2019-2020 budget, the sidewalk repair program was allocated $32 million to satisfy the city's annual commitment to the Willits versus the City of Los Angeles settlement agreement. Recognizing the demand for sidewalk repairs, the sidewalk repair program was allocated an additional $20 million for accelerated repairs of access requests in fiscal year 2018, 2019, and fiscal year 2019-2020. Access requests are made by or on behalf of those with mobility disabilities. The budget did not include additional city positions to deliver the additional acceleration repair request work and will exceed the capacity of the current sidewalk repair program staff. Hence, Bureau of Engineering moved forward with a task order solicitation for project management and staff augmentation in order to meet the Bureau's delivery commitments. On August 23, 2019, the Bureau of Engineering issued task order number 58 to all 9 firms from the pre-qualified on-call list, and the TOS sought to have 2 full-time engineers to assume project manager and assistant project manager roles. The scope of work for project management services included project management and staff augmentation for delivering of the sidewalk repair program access request acceleration projects, preparation of design build contract documents and review of project design plans and construction documents and submittals, develop cost estimates and project schedules to meet delivery deadlines, manage contracts as necessary to deliver the access request acceleration projects, and perform other duties related to the accelerated access repair request program. On September 6th, 2019, the Bureau of Engineering received only 1 proposal, and that was from SOMAS. The consultant's proposal provided for a project manager, assistant project manager, and part-time ancillary support staff. The set participation levels for MeeBee are 12% for minority business enterprises and 2% for women business enterprises. The consultant is pledging a MeeBee participation level of 12.38% and a WBE participation level of 2.5%, or 2.25%, excuse me. The duration of this task is for 2 years with a budget of $2.1 million, which includes contingency. Funding is available through the SB1 Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Fund. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vega. Let me try that microphone there. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vega. Just a couple of things.
Sure.
Recognizing, and those numbers are okay, on the MBE, WBE, you know, it's a little lower. It's SOMAS. They're good partners. They know what our goals are. But the main issue is we only received 1 response to the solicitation from SOMAS. Any indication from any others on the list as to why they didn't respond?
We didn't get any indication on that, and it might be because of a new list being developed at the same time, so it could have been for just the short duration.
Okay, couple things. One, on that, and I read the board report regarding engineering's negotiation with SOMAS, and I recognize that the agency is satisfied with the negotiation. I always ask for that confirmation on the oral record when we just have 1 respondent to the solicitation. Secondly, one of the things that we've gotten pretty good at doing that's not in this board report is whenever we have 1 respondent, we'll check with just a couple, even if it's random, follow-up folks to find out why they didn't participate. And that has been pretty good about making its way into the board report. Not in this one, just something to think of going forward.
We'll make sure that happens in the future.
Great, thank you. And so engineering was okay with the subsequent negotiation with SOMAS on this?
Yes.
All right, and again, SOMAS is a longtime partner. I'm not worried about that aspect of it. Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I too wanted to have us to explore the lack of interest that obviously resulted in our toss here. And obviously, you'll have to go back and find out from those who have been given the information as to why. but perhaps, I guess, 2 million is really not that large in the world of contracting. And maybe perhaps because it's such a small ask, that might be the way that contractors, or in this case, prime contractors, felt about the toss that we have here. But also, I would be curious as to why more of the other smaller companies would not look at this as an opportunity. It would seem that this is the kind of contract where we could, at least on some occasion, I look forward to the day when some of our prime contractors will come from the underserved communities. I've not seen much of that here. Additionally, I've not seen any joint ventures, which are a tool by which we can help to increase not only the underserved communities being small businesses getting subcontracts, but particularly in a contract like a $2 million contract, which is not much in the world of contracting. It would appear to me that moving forward, these kind of small contracts would be a great example and a great beginning as to how we can create opportunities for underserved contractors to have an opportunity to be a prime contractor with the city of Los Angeles, if not but to be a joint venture in this regard. And I'm confident that having confronted the opportunity that we in this city, as large as we are in Los Angeles, have clearly some minority contractors that could be a prime contractor on a project such as this. So those are my thoughts, and I hope that as we explore and get the data as to how they did not find that this was an important toss, that hopefully we'll be lucky moving forward.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Anything further? Thank you, Mr. Vega. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2, seconded by Commissioners Caloza and Davis. Any objection? We'll adopt agenda item number 2. Any issue sending 2 forthwith? Send number 2 forthwith. Mr. Vega, have a nice weekend. Let's go ahead and do general public comment. General public comment. Mr. Herman, on general public comment. Mr. Herman, general public comment. Mr. Herman, okay, we'll close general public comment. Agenda item number 5 is a hearing on ordinance number 184978, termination of SCS Renewable Energy Mountain Gate LLC franchise agreement, recommending that the board recognize and approve that the abandonment of SCS Renewable Energy Mountain Gate LLC franchise agreement is complete. And Mr. Herman has a card in on number 5. However, Mr. Knight, his time has expired, as you've indicated earlier. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
Yes, that is correct. He's also not in the room, but yes, he has his
All right,
10
thank
minutes
you.
has expired.
Mr. Intuck.
Good morning, President James, commissioners, and staff. This is the completion of pipeline termination that we started about a year and a half ago. This is the final step of recognizing the completion of the termination process. We've gone through the pipeline. This is a former natural gas pipeline that went from the Mountain Gate landfill to UCLA that they burned in their cogen or electricity power plant on site. The line has been abandoned, purged, inspected. Inspection copy has been provided by PHMSA, the Federal Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. It was abandoned to their federal standards. We have already ratified a transfer and assignment agreement between the city and SCS Mountain Gate, the ownership change. And we've ratified, and what you have in your board packet is the final documentation from the city clerk and from the county registrar recorder recording the transfer of ownership of the line. So
1 second on that. There's a little confusion that I just recognized. This has happened before. I called it as number 5, and I just have to correct this because we make an oral record that people go back and listen to subsequently. And that's on the sheet that I have. It's listed as number 5, but it's number 6 in my, on Mountain Gate. It's number 6 in my stack. So I realized I looked over at the electronic version, which I don't use from running the meetings, but the electronic version, it is number 6, and that may be what the public is seeing. So again, we need to get that squared away for what I'm working from here. But just for purposes of the electronic agenda that people will access, we're on agenda item number 6 on Mountain Gate.
yes,
So
that's
go
correct.
ahead.
Yeah, everything I provided or spoke to is number 6. That's
Right.
correct.
Thank you. Sorry for that confusion that came from the chair. Go ahead.
No problem. And so in your attachments today, you have copies of the registrar recorder's agreement and signed copies of the final documents. And this concludes and ends the ordinance number 184976 between the City of LA and SCS Renewable Energy Mountain Gate LLC. That concludes my presentation.
Great. And we don't have any speaker cards on number 5 other than Mr. Herman, correct, Mr. Knight?
That is correct. On number
Okay.
5.
Any questions at all? Well, then I'll make a motion this becomes complete. Is there a second on number 6? That'll be by Commissioners Villegas, Garcia, and Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Any issue sending number 6 forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith. All right, thank you, sir. You're here on number 5 as well. Yeah, you're here on number 5 as well, which is the hearing on ordinance number 184981, Tesoro SoCal Pipeline Company, recommending that the board approve the application by Tesoro SoCal Pipeline Company, LLC, to authorize the addition of 2 pipelines. So here we're adding 2 pipelines, 71R and 79R, to their pipeline franchise agreement. And just for the record, on this item, Mr. Herman has a speaker card in on this item, but his time has expired or has not expired?
Yeah, he has a minute left. When he spoke last, we advised him he had a minute 40 left, and he spoke for about
40 seconds.
So he's got
Okay.
a minute left.
Yeah, but he's not been in the room, so I'll call him again. Mr. Herman, on number 5 now, Mr. Herman. Okay, he's still left the room. Go ahead, Mr. Intuck.
Yes. So this is a transfer and additional facilities to ordinance number 184981. It's under the name Tesoro, but since the time that this franchise has been ratified into ordinance, the company has changed names multiple times. So even though it's in the Tesoro name, they did rebrand to Endeavor Energy and subsequently were purchased and merged with Marathon Petroleum. So the actual entity is Marathon Petroleum that this franchise agreement is in. When the franchise application was submitted, there was an oversight. It looked like there was a 2-sided copy of paper with listing of the pipeline lengths, and someone didn't turn over the other side of the copy of the paper, and we left off 71R and 79R. It's approximately 1,400 feet of pipeline. This is, we have already been billing, and they've already paid for in the last several annual franchise fees. What this does is basically an administrative cleanup. So our next billing cycle in January, it'll clean up about $4,700. This is a franchise agreement in the order of magnitude about $600,000, $700,000 annual fee. So it's a very small percent of the overall franchise, but this was some cleanup activity that we still had from when the Department of Transportation administered the pipeline franchise agreements. So just asking for your recognition of adding these pipelines to the agreement.
Great, thank you, Mr. Intuck. And just to clarify again, we did not get a speaker card on this agenda item as well?
We did. I have it that we did receive one speaker card from Mr. Herman. Item.
I've got it differently. Henry Stimson, your card is not on this item, correct? Okay, so that's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's he wrote down the specific Public Works number, and it ends in a 5, thus the confusion. But he's here for number 7, I believe. Yeah. All right. So we don't have a speaker card on this item. Then, in that case, I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5. Do we have a second on that by Commissioner Villegas? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending 5 forthwith? We'll send number 5 forthwith. Thank you all. Agenda item number 1 is a revised task order solicitation, SSV 001, and budget increase for the 6th Street Viaduct Replacement Project. This is with HNTB Corporation. Recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue a revision of the TOS number SSV 001 to HNTB Corporation, increasing the budget authority from $30 million to $31,473,353 for design services during construction. You can do the math on that. That's a $1.47 million increase. Mr. Herman, on number 1, Mr. Herman on number 1, Mr. Herman on number 1. Ms. Allen on number 1. Morning.
Good morning. Julie Allen, Bureau of Engineering. I'm the Program Manager of the 6th Street Viaduct Replacement Program. Before you today is a report requesting authority for the board to allow the city engineer to issue a revision to the task order to HNTB, as you mentioned, from $30 million to $31,473,353 for design and design support services during construction for the 6th Street Viaduct Replacement Project. HNTB was selected as the firm to provide design and design support during construction, or DSDC, in 2012 for the 6th Street Viaduct Replacement Project at a total cost of $30 million. And the contract expiration date was December 31st, 2019, so later this year. On July 29th, this board approved a recommendation that the City Council and Mayor approve a contract amendment that will extend the completion date or expiration date to September 30th of 2023, along with a revision to the contract ceiling of $3 million up to a total of $33 million. The contract amendment has now been approved by City Council and the Mayor, and we are in the process of getting the amendment executed. In a part of the board report, when we came to the board in July, we indicated that we would be coming back to the board to request authority to issue this task order revision under the ceiling and within the expiration date of that contract amendment, and so that's why we're here today to request a specific revision. As far as the project goes, the first construction package was awarded in January of 2015, and the last package, the viaduct superstructure, was awarded in January of 2017 and is about 40% complete in construction. The current contractual completion date is February 15th of 2021. And so that's the date we have selected at this time to be able to issue the task order revision to HNTB to continue services. Although the contractor has indicated they are at least 500 days behind schedule, so with that we anticipate that we will be back at some point in the future to do a further revision, still within the same contract authority that we have with the $3 million extension. So we're doing a portion of it now to the current contractual completion date, and we expect that we will be coming back later within the contract ceiling once we have a better idea of the final completion date of the contract. So in addition to the extension of services through the contractual completion date, it has also been necessary for HNTB to perform additional services, so we are including that as part of this task order revision, and those services are itemized in the report, but for example, it includes preparation of a time-dependent erection model that was requested by Caltrans. It includes additional engineering support to perform bridge information modeling, along with the contractor geometric control manual efforts and additional shop drawing reviews for the contractor, along with technical support for dispute resolution board and claims mitigation that has been ongoing for the project. So HNTB submitted a cost proposal for this task order revision in the amount of about $3.5 million. The Bureau of Engineering has been negotiating with HNTB, and we have agreed now on this extension and additional services in the amount of $1,473,353, which will leave a little over $1.5 million for the future extension to the end of construction. This contract is federally funded and is thus subject to the city's Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, as well as Caltrans' underutilized Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. The UDBE goal set for this project, for this contract originally, was 3.5%, and HNTB originally pledged a commitment of 13.28%, as well as a DBE level of 3.17%. For this revised task, the consultant is pledging a UDBE participation of 18.83%, with 4.42% for DBE and 6.73% for other business enterprise or OBE. Funding for this task order revision is available within the project budget, and I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. We'll start with Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification. I know that you have the authority to go up to $3 million, and we're issuing about 1.4, and there'll still be remaining 1.5. Is there any anticipated information information that you may have that they may exceed that amount, that they may come back and say, we have work still that's pending and it's over the amount authorized?
We expect that within this 1.473 that we're requesting to be authorized at this time, it should cover the services through the current contractual completion date. But if things arise that we're unaware of at this point, there's the potential that we would need to use part of that 1.5 million. But at this point, we've agreed on the scope that is needed for additional services. We understand the support that we all need, and they'll be providing for the extension through February of 21. So we feel comfortable that what we've agreed upon at this point will cover us through that date.
I'm just, I see what you're saying. Thank you for that clarification. I just don't want, you know, multiple times to come back and say, you know, we need another, you know, for X, Y, and Z reasons. That's my only hesitation.
We're hopeful that that won't occur. I mean, obviously, they can ask, but we have a set scope that we've asked them to do. Yeah, so if there's something that happens that we need them to do, we would obviously negotiate that with them and request additional authority for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Garcia?
Thank you, President James. Julie, in your report, you said that there's a 500-day delay. Is that a new setback date? I knew we had already set back a couple of, maybe like a year, but 500, is that new? Or was
Not
that
new, no. It's the 500 total amount that they're expecting to be late in delivering the project.
Okay.
So it's not a new date.
So just for today's conversation, what year does that take us to?
It's in 2022.
Okay.
They're projecting to complete in 2022.
Okay, thank you.
And Commissioner Davis?
Julie, could you discuss with me briefly the indication for underutilized disadvantaged business enterprises versus disadvantaged business enterprises?
From my understanding of the contracting mechanism that was in place in 2012 when this contract was awarded, Caltrans had a program at that time of underutilized disadvantaged business enterprise, and they gave a description. The program is called Race Conscious Underutilized Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Race Neutral DBE Program, and it was just the program that they had in place and the title of it at the time, but I don't know.
How do we distinguish it from DBE? Because I notice you have male Hispanic American DBE and then APA as UDBE. So I'm trying to distinguish as we practice our characterization and identification of these titles, and I understand that these are federal contracts, correct?
Correct.
I'm trying to distinguish the difference between the two as we look at these kind of federal projects moving forward.
I would certainly be happy to go find out. I don't know personally what the difference is, and I don't know if they still even use this classification for the program, or it's now converted just to DBE, but this was what was in place at the time this contract was awarded.
What year was this contract awarded again?
2012.
2012. Okay, got it. Okay.
Our new contracts seem to only have the DBE program, so I don't know if that's been a change in the federal.
Okay.
But I can find out and
Okay,
get back
good.
to you.
I always like to stay up to date because they're always in this business of diversity, changing terms and terminologies, and I want to stay up to date and abreast of each of those as we have to deal with them. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Julie, if we were just going to summarize this one in a sentence, now that I've put myself out there, I have to make it in one sentence, I suppose. But it would be something like the project has several days. We're 500 days or so late, comma, and thus we need these additional funds to provide the services that are referenced in here for that additional period of time,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So the additional time is what's costing us, at least on this board report, the $1.47 million.
In this case, it's divided both some additional services that they've performed for supporting us for the claims mitigation and other things that weren't part of their original scope. It's like the 1.43 is a combination of extended duration. There's a table actually in the report. I can give you the exact number. So we have $370,000 that was added for out-of-scope services.
Table 1,
Table 1 on page 3.
right?
And there's $102,000 that was added for additional scope of services beyond what was in the, like, submittal reviews were already in there, but there were more submittal reviews than.
It's 102 because you had
102.
an increase and then a reduction.
Exactly, a net
Okay.
increase. And then we have $1 million that's associated with the extension of services. So some of the additional shop drawing reviews were part of the extension, and then the $1 million is part of the extension. So of the total 1.4, there was 370 out of scope.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further? Commissioner Colosi has made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice weekend. Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? We will send number 1 forthwith. Let's take, before we get our last voting item, we've got this one dangling petroleum office item that's an advisement, agenda item number 13, the status on compliance relative to NASCO Petroleum LLC, section 4.7 of ordinance 184966, within 120 days of the order. And on number 13, Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman on 13, Mr. Herman on 13. Mr. Intuck on number 13. This has been continued a couple of times.
Yes, President James, Commissioners, this is a follow-up from 2 weeks ago. In that time, we have had a number of communications with NASCO Petroleum LLC and staff about their abandonment plan and getting it updated. We also had a meeting with the California Office of State Fire Marshal with all 3 of us in the room for last week to go over the specific requirements that the state requires for properly abandoning a pipeline. We did provide them with an example pipeline abandonment plan, and as well as our Bureau of Engineering standards for oil pipeline abandonments. What you should have copies before you is the updated abandonment plan. There's also a copy of correspondence with the State Fire Marshal that they've been noticed that they intend to abandon this line, and also a map of the 2.88, 2.89 miles of the pipeline in question, which is Office of State Fire Marshal numbers 0531 and 1328. And this is part of the ordinance on ordinance number 184966. And so if you look through, they go through and have their procedures on purging the line, cleaning the line, removing their SCADA system, disconnections. There are 3 vaults that are 3 areas where the line is accessible in a subsurface area, and itemize those vaults and a plan to abandon those vaults in compliance with Bureau of Engineering standards. And so we've made substantial progress. At the last meeting 2 weeks ago, we accepted their intent to abandon, and today I'd like to ask if you can accept their abandonment plan so they can go forward and with their contractor and pull a U permit from the city and begin the process of abandoning the 2.88 miles of pipeline.
And that's your recommendation that we accept it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Accept the abandonment plan and the notice to the Office of State Fire Marshal.
Okay. Once we do that, Uduak, do we need to, again, set this item for a future agenda once again for kind of the final steps?
Yes, it'd be very similar to the previous item we had earlier today with SCS Mountain Gate, where that was the final step. What they'll need to do in the future, when they're complete with the abandonment, they'll need to bring a post-abandonment report along with an inspection report and letter from the State Fire Marshal confirming that it's been abandoned to standards. We'll need to do a transfer and assignment agreement between our city attorney and their company, and then we'll need to record that with the county registrar recorder. So there will probably be 2 to 3 additional meetings. They do have representatives here who can answer questions. One question I'm uncertain from them is their anticipated timeline.
That was my question. Yeah.
When they expect to start the work and complete the work.
Let me tell you what, let me ask you this first. I know they're in the room, but let me ask you this first. My initial thought on this would be to put it out for now 6 months for an update at that point. Should we do it at 6 months? Should we do it at 3 months? What's your thought? I'm not inclined to go much further out than 6 months for at least the update.
Yeah, I would say 6 months. They do need to get our permit. They need to start the work, traffic control plan, and then do their post abandonment inspection. So that's going to take some time. But I would say at least that one much time for a check-in, if
Right.
not the entire project to be complete.
Okay, well, while they're here, let's go ahead and reserve the date. Mr. Knight, 6 months from today, I'm going to guess, is around April the 6th, 7th, or 8th. Maybe it's May. May.
Correct, President James. That would put us at May 8th, which is a Friday. That is a date that we have a scheduled board meeting.
Great.
May 8th,
Then
2020.
let's go ahead and put it on for May 8th, exactly 6 months for the update. And then we'll go to Commissioner Villegas, then I have a procedural question. But go ahead, Commissioner Villegas.
I just have I just got this report, so I'm just reading it now. And I didn't have information about this potential abandonment of the pipeline. So just for background information, is NASCO Petroleum LLC, is their only provider for this, is it Alanco? Is that the reason why they are abandoning it?
No. So background on this is they've had a number of entities over probably the past decade that have had a franchise with the city. Previous to NASCO Petroleum, it was a company named St. James Oil Corporation in the early 2000s, late 90s. They changed ownership, and historically, these two sites were connected. There's a drill site on Broadway and 14th, just by the Public Works building, and then there's an Alanco site off of 23rd and St. James by Mount St. Mary's Women's College, and then there's a third site, the Jefferson drill site that's on Jefferson and Budlong. So this pipeline connects all three of those sites together. But this segment of pipeline has been unused for most of the last decade. It's been 7 years since it's been used. There was some damage and leaks that occurred about 7 years ago that it was idled at that time, and has been sitting unused. This is a redundant backup line for the NASCO Petroleum drill site on 14th and Broadway. They have a different pipeline with a company called Crimson Oil that they can ship their produced oil out of, so this doesn't inhibit their business operations from continuing. And then Jefferson drill site is in the process of abandoning their drill site at the other end of the pipeline that they've begun and will be concluded in probably the next 2.5 years.
Thank you. I just didn't know if they had other clients that were serviced by this pipeline.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah.
Anything further, Commissioner Vegas? Okay. Commissioner Caloza?
Thank you, President. I don't have any questions, as more as comment for when we hear this again in 6 months, mostly to NASCO, but I know this is about close to a 3-mile pipeline that goes through several communities, but I definitely would be interested in 6 months of knowing what kind of impact it would have to the neighborhoods, and that we're being as sensitive as possible, knowing that there's likely street closures and some interruption during the abandonment period.
Yeah, and just to note, this is going to be an abandonment in place. And so when they do have equipment at primarily the vault locations, that's when potential traffic impacts. But the line purging with a foam pig is very similar to putting a spitball in a straw. That it's going to push a device through the pipeline to clean it out, but it will have no surface impact or visibility or impediment of the road or sidewalks. The vaults have a subsurface opening where they can collect it. So you put it in one side, you collect it at the next vault location. There's three. There's one at both ends and one in the middle. And so the middle one, you take it out, you put it into the next segment, and you get it at the end.
Okay.
And so that's the extent of it. So we're not going to be trenching and removing.
Okay.
There's the Bureau of Engineering does have that as a primary abandonment requirement, but it has an or you can abandon in place. And so we've gone with the abandonment in place, which is actually the more cost-effective and business-friendly option for the company, and can be done safely and also meet state fire marshal requirements and Bureau of Engineering abandonment requirements.
That's really helpful to know. So that any interruption that there may be would just be at those access points that you mentioned, and it would be minimal from what it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. So, procedural issue. And I asked our city attorney for advice on it, and I was right about my hunch on this. We'll have that discussion openly on the record here. My concern was, Mr. Intuck, you've asked us to accept a couple of things from NASCO that you referenced earlier. And would you remind us again the record what those two things are?
The abandonment plan that's
Right.
been submitted and the notice to the Office of State Fire Marshal.
Right, and we've got the written.
And I've photocopied on the back page of the abandonment agreement is the email copy notice to the State Fire Marshal,
which I've got.
right before the map
Right.
in your packet.
So what I think we should do, because I checked with Mr. Jordan, we just had this on the agenda today as an oral report. So I think the safest thing to do would be to attach this, it's a public document anyway, to a motion from you or your office that we approve the plan, and because that's a lot less time than a board report.
Yeah.
Just a one-page motion. We've already had the discussion today that we approve the plan and the submission to the State Fire Marshal, as you mentioned. And then we can, I'm okay putting that, Monday's a holiday, I'm okay if we can get that in by the end of the day. I don't mind putting this on a special for Wednesday. And then we'll, you or somebody from your office can be here, really just for any additional questions we might have. But I don't anticipate repeating the hearing. We've had the hearing today. But I've got, just for Brown Act purposes, I need to call the item and have the opportunity for comment. But given the discussion today, I don't anticipate that there's any hesitation on our board to follow your recommendation. But I would make sure somebody from your office is here on Wednesday just to confirm the recommendation from your office.
I'll be here.
Okay, great. And then, Mr. Knight, your office could just coordinate with Mr. Intuck's team on just a quick two-paragraph motion, and then we can put it on a special today or Tuesday or whatever needs to be done for Wednesday's agenda.
Wednesday, yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. So, yes, sir.
Can we just ask the applicant about the timeline?
Yes. You mean the 6-month timeline?
Yeah, what their timeline to begin the work and complete the work.
Okay, sure. Representative from ASCO. Welcome back, sir. The 6 months, you heard the discussion, is a 6-month timeline?
Sure, we'll definitely try to work ahead and try to do it as quickly as possible.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll have something for you in 6 months. Hopefully, we'll be done with it in 6 months. But that's the goal. But we'll obviously have advancement by then for sure. Hopefully, we'll be done with it.
Uduak, anything else while we're on the record? Is that a question on starting?
Yeah, the question was when do they anticipate starting?
So we're going to start immediately. I mean, next week, basically getting bids.
Okay.
Looking into the U permits and everything else, and
Okay.
we'll get it done.
Then that'll be the order for, thank you, sir, for today, that we've got the May 8th hearing date. Wednesday will be just the official vote on the discussion that we've had today, and you'll be here as well. It's not necessary that NASCO be here, although it might be safe to send somebody in case we have an additional question that comes up, but it is what it is. We need to schedule it for Wednesday for an official vote. All right, thank you. Anything further on that, Mr. Jordan?
No, I think you covered everything.
Okay, great. Thank you. So that'll be the order on agenda item number 13. Thank you, everyone. Let's go to agenda item number 7. Contract award, Council District 11, Capital Improvement Project 7256. This is the Venice Pumping Plant, Variable Frequency Drive Numbers 1 and 4 replacement, and the CIP 7257 Capital Improvement Project, Bologna Creek Pumping Plant, Variable Frequency Drives Replacement. Recommending that the board first find transmittal number 1 to be unmerited as discussed in the report. Secondly, declare Lead Electric Incorporated the first low bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award Lead a contract for the project for $1,357,987. And third, authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Mr. Herman on number 7. Mr. Herman on number 7. Mr. Herman on number 7. There's no Mr. Herman on number 7. Mr. Stimson, you represent a real party in interest here, correct? Yes. Okay. Then what we're going to do, we don't put a 2-minute time limit on real parties in interest. I just ask people to not repeat themselves. Then I'm going to think you've said everything you need to say. But we're going to start this morning to summarize with Mr. Kopp, and then you'll have the opportunity to respond.
Good morning. David Kopp, Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division. So the scope of this project concerns 2 of the city's operated wastewater pumping plants. First at the Bayona pumping plant, somewhat located by where the 90 and Inglewood Boulevard intersect, and at Venice, basically in the heart of Venice. And we're replacing 6 variable frequency drives between the 2 plants that have either reached the end of their service life, out of service. In either case, none of these are no longer supported by their respective manufacturers and are due for replacement at these critical facilities. What a variable frequency drive is, it's important to mention, these are basically speed controls for motors. And so these pumping plants operate multiple large capacity wastewater pumps that are powered by electric motors, where the speeds need to be modulated with respect to the flow incoming to these plants. And so what this does in turn is vary those speeds of the pumps, and in turn you gain an energy savings and longevity of the equipment. The contract duration is 450 calendar days, so with respect to the contract amount included in the board report, it's a lot of time, but this allows the contractor to safely do the work all within the limits of an operating facility, i.e. Neither the Bayona or Venice pumping plants can be completely shut down in order to accommodate this work. Of the 4 bids received, the lowest responsible bidder was Lead Electric, a qualified local business and small business enterprise. Their bid came in at $1,357,987, which is about 16% below the city engineer's estimate. And funding is verified available and approved by the Program Review Committee to support the project funding. Of the mandatory subcontracting minimum, it was originally set at 15 at time of advertisement. They have pledged 16.64, which is above the original set amount. And it's important to also note that relative to the sole source authority that was obtained in January earlier this year, it is over 55% of the entire total bid for the project. So that lends itself to the fact that the majority of the costs as part of this project are for procuring the equipment, followed by the installation costs, which are largely electrical to integrate to the fullest extent possible with the existing infrastructure at these 2 pumping plants. As such, the BOE does recommend this contract be executed, awarded to the lowest bidder in accordance with the associated board report. Concludes the staff report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Kopp before we hear from Mr. Stimson? Mr. Stimson.
Thank you. Basically, I'm here to contest the finding of the protest that I entered on this particular bid as being unmerited. I have a couple of questions and a statement which I'd like to enter into the record here. In the recommendations of the board dated January 23rd and the staff response to my protest section on page 5 of the request for award document dated November 4th, there is no mention of the California Public Contract Code 3400, which I have a copy of here and I have copies if you want them too. I discussed this with Dr. Campos, who was the person to whom I was supposed to address my bid. I discussed it with him by phone. I sent him a copy of it. I had another phone call with him wherein he promised me that he would share this California Public Contract Code number 3400 with the Bureau of Engineering, and they would include it in their report back to me as to whether they found my protest to be merited or not. My question would be, was this code considered when making the recommendations in January or by the staff when they made the response to my protest? Number 2, what guarantees of product support and replacement parts availability have been obtained from the sole source supplier, Royal Industrial, who is supplying a product made by Rockwell Automation? Number 3, what policies or guidelines are you, the Bureau of Engineering, using to justify your assumption that past performances will indicate future availability of product support and replacement parts, which is the reason you give for not only using a sole source product in the future? And number 4, why was in fact the January 23rd report, which was approving the sole source approval of this product, not included in the bid documents as required under the California Public Contract Code number S3400? To follow up on what my predecessor said, variable frequency drives are a relatively complicated item, but they're made by several different manufacturers all over the world. In addition to Rockwell Automation, the specified supplier, I wouldn't call them a commodity item, but they are an item that can be specified and sourced. As any electrical product, we've seen huge advances over the years in their reduction in cost and improvement in durability and reliability. In my judgment, all of the other manufacturers make a superior product, but my judgment is very subjective and is not relevant in this particular occasion. I do feel strongly would ask that you consider my opinion, which is that the use of a sole source specification to purchase products like VFDs is not the most effective way to achieve the goal of lowest possible cost over the life of the product. In very rare circumstances, there is no way to avoid a sole source. Those are outlined in the California Public Code. But in this case, I believe very strongly that it is incumbent upon the Bureau of Engineering to either create a more generic specification to define the exact needs of the application or consider including or equal products instead of using a sole source on a product that's readily available from a number of different manufacturers. My protest was entered before the bid was placed forward because I also felt that it would be inappropriate if you have a sole source and if the majority of the cost of the bid was this sole source product. By letting the bid go forward, you were exposing the labor and installation costs of all the manufacturers, which I didn't want to do because I was hoping to get this project bid date extended, but that wasn't allowed. My protest apparently wasn't even considered until after we decided to award this. What I'm asking you, the board, to do is consider my statements here and consider reviewing, in addition to my second letter that I sent to Dr. Campos, which wasn't included in the consideration, or the California Public Contract Code number 3400, or confirming that it was considered when you made the finding that my protest was unmerited.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kopp? Thank you, sir. I've got a question for Mr. Kopp. So let's go back a moment to, because I want to reference a couple of things. In a moment, I want to go back to the January 25th, 2019 sole source justification that took place here. And first, but we've got the approved board report. It's one of the transmittals, but again, I need to make an oral record here. And other folks may have questions. Sure. Regarding the sole source justification from January 25th, 2019, why was the sole source for this product the desire of engineering back at that time?
There were three main items. One, of course, was the proven track record we've had with Rockwell variable frequency drives, in particular at the Venice pumping plant, the city's largest. We had two emergency situations, in fact. In 2010 and 2013, we had to replace 3 within that time frame that broke. We came and replaced them. They've been working without any interruptions ever since. In addition, we have other various applications where Rockwell has prevailed in terms of their track record and minimal shutdowns or associated shutdowns and need to react on an emergency basis. The other one, too, is what we typically have gotten approval in the past is for uniformity in our operation maintenance scheme. So in other words, whether it's a variable frequency drive or a pump, let's say you've got a pump of similar capacity and performance at a plant. What an operator or maintenance staff don't want to do is have to do any guesswork on who makes this one, who do I need to call, and so you have this uniformity. You know that in this process area you have one manufacturer of the equipment, and that allows the Bureau of Sanitation to react appropriately in emergency situations in particular. The third was that this improves our design approach. With a project like this, you design to the equipment. And so as a result, when we obtained the board's authority to sole source Rockwell for this critical project, we were able to engage the vendor early on, therefore building more certainty and accuracy in our design, and therefore bidability and the lowest cost possible in our opinion. And it's also important to note that there's a big project coming up, the Venice Auxiliary Pumping Plant. Not sure if it's come before the board anytime recently, but in the next couple years, this will be breaking ground, and it's important that we are in and out as soon as possible to accommodate that major construction across the street. This plant will have to be in tip-top shape in order to support the construction just immediately across the street. That summarizes the three justifications.
Okay, so understanding the justifications that were approved by the board and our city attorney back in January of 2019, would you agree that based on that, engineering made a determination that competition from other bidders regarding that piece of equipment would be inadequate for your purposes?
In relation to the urgent nature of the project, absolutely.
Okay. The next item you mentioned, you said the urgent nature of the project. And when you said the urgent nature of the project, you're talking about the Venice pumping plant description that you just provided, correct?
Yes.
And is it fair then that a delay that would have resulted from competitive bidding on this piece of equipment, which could even be further exacerbated at this point, would be detrimental to the Venice pumping plant project, at least, that you've mentioned?
Yes.
All right. The reason that I mentioned that, and one more thing, you talked about the engineering staff needing to be trained and be able to appropriately and properly run this equipment, correct?
Correct.
All right. The reason I wanted those three things in the record is, if you look at the bid protest's own correspondence, as it's described in the board report, there's a reference to the U.S. Department of Justice's sole source procurement requirements, and let's just take it as its word. Let's just take it at face value. It claims that sole source procurement is justified when an item is only available from one source. We're not claiming that.
No.
Nobody disputes the fact that it's available from more than one source.
Correct.
So then we go to the next one. The public exigency, or the public agency in essence, for the requirement does not permit a delay resulting from competitive bidding. Regarding your statements on the Venice pumping plant, I would make the argument that competitive bidding of this particular item would result in a delay from competitive bidding that would adversely affect the Venice pumping plant project for a number of reasons.
Yes.
Okay? And then number three, because there's the word "or" there, competition from a number of bidders is determined inadequate. The reason that I think that competition from a number of businesses would be determined inadequate so that we meet category number 3, is what you said earlier that's part of engineering's initial response to this, which is the whole aspect of employee and staff training and familiarity with the admittedly complicated equipment that we're talking about, that also has value to the agency, the city and BOE, on cost, on operation and maintenance, on safety and operability, and all those other things.
And if I could add specifics
Yes.
to that, is that, as I mentioned in staff report, we currently use Rockwell VFDs. Therefore, our point of contact, our vendor contact, our technical support, that's all established. So is the training. And so in what we call the startup phase in construction, that will be all the more compressed and turned over to sanitation for operation before the major construction starts on the auxiliary plant.
So the reason that I put this exchange on the record is because I believe that taking the argument of the bid protest using US DOJ language as stated by them, that the sole source justification still exists on 2 of the 3 categories, which better than gets engineering to the argument that they're making for the sole source of this equipment today, in addition to the sole source justification that existed back on January 25th, 2019. Mr. Jordan, anything that you heard in this exchange that you want to comment on or ask a question about or add to?
No, I think the bulk of the determination to sole source these particular units was had in the January 25th meeting. And I should note that the recommendation is both from the Bureau of Engineering, the construction arm for this project, as well as the Bureau of Sanitation, which is the bureau that will be operating and maintaining this facility and be ultimately responsible for the maintenance of this equipment that we're putting in there. So the uniformity in the operation and maintenance ultimately is going to be something that the Bureau of Sanitation will deal with as they operate these facilities, and the recommendation came from them as well.
All right. So with that, and I don't see any lights for questions, based on that record, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 7 as recommended by engineering. Is there a second on that by Commissioner Caloza? Any objection? Without objection, that'll be the order. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Kopp. Any issue sending number 7 forthwith? We'll send number 7 forthwith. Agenda item number 11, Office of Community Beautification. Mr. Roch, welcome back again. You have an update that has been slated for a little while, and we're here today to do that.
Good morning, Paul Roch.
Before you do that, one moment. Mr. Herman did put in a card on number 11. He still has a minute left if he's in the room. Mr. Herman, go ahead, Mr. Roch.
Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. We do provide quarterly updates to the board on various activities of the office. We're going to do it a little bit different this time. Rather than me giving the presentations, I have some OCB staff here that will kind of come up individually and give some highlights on some of the different activities. And once they've concluded, if the board has any questions, we'll be available.
Great, thank you. Welcome back, sir.
Morning.
Morning.
Thomas Corrales with the Office of Community Beautification. Here to provide a quick quarterly update on the graffiti abatement program. For the first quarter of 2019-2020, OCB contractors removed 8.4 million square feet of graffiti with 6.4, with 121 locations. 1,000 locations. Compare this to last quarter, our contractors have an increase of 2 million square feet of graffiti, and also with 60,000 locations compared to last quarter. And that's the only thing I got. All right.
Oh, one moment.
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you for your report. This is the first time I'm hearing it, so I pardon my question just for background purposes. So So when you give your update on graffiti, it seems to me that there was an increase in...
Correct. There was an increase from last quarter of 2 million. And the locations went up 60,000.
And is there a cost associated with that as well?
We have 100% crews working out on the field, where last quarter we didn't. So that has made the difference.
Okay, but there isn't like a number associated with the increase in, I'm just curious. Or is that part of the contract, the overall contract?
So yes, there is a cost associated with that. Last year, because of the prevailing wage issue, we did not have our crews out there working at 100% capacity. And when we went into the budget hearings this year, our direction from the Budget and Finance Committee and the CLA was to put our crews out 100%, even though we're not necessarily funded at that level for this year, and to come back in mid-year with any additional costs that we might have. So our crews are working 100%. We are going to be somewhat short on the budget amount by the end of the year. We will have to go back to Budget and Finance Committee to try to make that up. But we are looking at an increase of probably, about 8 million square feet difference, for a whole year. We will be coming to the board next week with some recommendations on the ways we can cut those costs down. So.
Could I just add one thing to that too, Commissioner Villegas, just by way of background? When we were at budget this past year, we were aware of the pendency of the determination from the Department of Industrial Relations on what the cost was going to be per hour. So the council knew, and the mayor's office has known, that we're going to come up short towards the end of the budget year, and we made a conscientious decision collectively with them to go ahead and operate at 100%, knowing that we're going to come up short, hoping that we would get the determination that we did from the DIR, but every day that we had to wait for the DIR cost us more money than we had initially wanted. So they expect us to have that gap at the end of the year, and fortunately for us, the gap isn't going to be as large as it could have been. Just by way of background on that. So I don't expect them to be surprised at all when we show up, which is very unlike, we don't mismanage the budgeted funds. So this was all on the table at the beginning of the year. So.
Correct.
I just have one more question. So I'm assuming that your office collects this information and obviously does the work and does the cleanup. Is there a follow-up? Do you all work with LAPD to share the sites? It sounds to me that there is an increase in obviously graffiti. That's a quality of life issue for many communities. How is that information analyzed, or what do you do with it?
So we have over the past several years had a program where our contractors, we contract with various nonprofit community-based organizations, and when they do the abatement, they've been trained by LAPD on what types of situations have investigative value, and those are loaded into a program that is accessible by LAPD to go into and look at photos should they wish to. We also have a lot of the photos and the information in the MyLA 311 database. That's where the primary things are located. So in that case, we do work with LAPD should they have interest in that. And I believe when Jerry comes up with our office, he's going to have a little information regarding working with law enforcement as well.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Caloza.
I have a question for Paul. Thank you, President James. And so you were talking a little bit about the budget and getting additional approval from the board next week. Can you just give us a preview of what that dollar amount is that we are coming short on in order to accommodate this gap from the prevailing wage decision?
We don't have a specific dollar amount at this point. We're going through the various invoices now. Now that we have basically 4 months worth of work for the current fiscal year, July through the end of October, we're able to kind of take that and look at what the shortcomings will be for the various contractors. Some of them, the larger contractors, have larger amounts. So, ballpark, I'm thinking will be maybe around $1 million short. But, that could be a little more or a little bit less. We should have an idea probably by the middle of next week, and certainly when we come to board next Friday, as to the specifics as to what the shortfall will be.
Okay. And so just to clarify, have all of our contractors transitioned into the new prevailing wage decision, or is that still ongoing?
No, all contractors are adhering to the prevailing wage. They were doing that last year, and they're doing that this year. Some of them are more able to take advantage of, some of the requirements to get by without having to pay the full prevailing wage, because their crews have enough community service workers that they can act more in a supervisory capacity than the actual performing the work, and they're then allowed to be paid a lower rate if they're not actually doing work. Some of our other contractors, based on the areas that they service or the number of community service workers they do or don't get, then their crews do have to be out in the field, actually performing the abatement. So they then have to be paid the full prevailing wage rate.
And then the status of the request for proposal, is that still, your aim is still to have that in front of us next year? Is that the goal?
Yeah, we are aiming towards having RFP out probably by the end of January.
Of 2020.
So we'll be coming to the board next week with some recommendations that should get us through the current fiscal year. Also with the anticipation of having a new RFP out that should take place with new contracts in July.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And we do still have a couple more OCB.
Great, thank you, Paul. Thank you all. Good morning.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, and board members. I'm Anna Ruiz with the Office of Community Beautification. OTB contracts with 10 community-based organizations to clean up the public right-of-way throughout the city of Los Angeles. This includes loose litter, weed abatement, debris, bulky items, and illegal dumping. These contractors are used to supplement the services of the Bureau of Sanitation for the Clean Streets Initiative. Crews respond to appropriate service requests as assigned by OCB, the Bureau of Sanitation, and the council offices. In the last quarter, our contractors have serviced 2,700 locations, picked up over 4,500 bulky items, 49,000 trash bags, and spent over 5,600 hours cleaning up the streets of Los Angeles. They are on track to service more locations this year than last year. One of our highlights back in October was a neighborhood cleanup in the USC area with New Story Church, in which we had more than 100 volunteers and picked up over 200 trash bags and bulky items, and in total we had over 2 tons picked up of trash. This program is of great value, and it helps clean up and beautify the city of Los Angeles and hire residents in the local community.
Great, thank you, ma'am. Any questions? Thank you. Next. Good morning, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, President James, Commissioners and board members. Jerry Valido, Assistant Director with the Office of Community Beautification. This morning I'll be giving an update on 3 separate OCB programs, the first of which is the Adopt a Median program. And for the benefit of our new commissioner, a little background on the program. The Adopt a Median program serves as a vehicle by which constituent groups can install community improvement projects in the public right-of-way. OCB acts as the administrative arm of the program and oversees the project through the review, adoption, and the permitting process. Within the last quarter, Adopt a Meeting has had a spike in project submissions, having received a total of 8 new proposed projects. All of these proposed projects are currently under review with various city agencies. We've had 2 projects adopted by the Board of Public Works in the last quarter, highlighted just recently in September by the Board of Public Works adopting the San Pedro Outdoor Dining Project. Finally, OCB is coordinating with the CLA's office to hopefully expand the parameters of the program and modify its process. Now for a brief update on OCB's court restitution program. This program is an auxiliary component to the district attorney and city attorney's offices in their acquisition of restitution from acts of graffiti vandalism. I serve as the city's court expert, testifying in court proceedings regarding costs that the city incurs from removing graffiti at specific locations. For years, OCB was using an outdated method to calculate costs of graffiti, while other city entities had already switched to the use of a formula to provide these costs. I'm very pleased to announce that OCB has created a formula for graffiti removal costs, and we have now brought the city of LA on par with other jurisdictions. The new invoicing procedure was approved by Director Paul Rach and subsequently reviewed and approved by the board's legal counsel, Mr. Jordan. It has also been distributed to LAPD for use by its patrol officers and gang units. Since the integration of this new invoicing procedure into the OCB court restitution program, we have invoiced for $15,149.35 towards restitution, compared to a very minimal cost of $6,525 that would have previously been invoiced under the previous fee schedule. This 132% increase is an initial snapshot of the additional monies that OCB hopes to recover for our services. Finally, today I'd like to briefly touch on OCB's volunteer cleanup program. This program is utilized by constituents throughout the city virtually every weekend of the calendar year. During the last quarter, OCB participated in 55 volunteer events, boasting a total of approximately 3,200 volunteers. Thanks to the efforts of these citizens, these cleanup events were responsible for the collection of 8,356 bags of trash. And even as the autumn and winter months are upon us, OCB coordinators continue to assist community members in organizing these events citywide. And that concludes my section of OCB's update.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of him? Any questions for him at all? Thank you. Ms. Weezer. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Weezer, and I am a community coordinator with the Office of Community Beautification. So to conclude today's OCB presentation, I'll be giving you an update on the city's sidewalk rebate program. So just to provide you guys with some background, for anyone that may not know, the sidewalk rebate program is part of Safe Sidewalk LA, a 30-year program that was developed in 2016 in an effort to make sidewalks accessible to all. This program has 3 different components to it. The first one being the Access Request Program, the Report a Sidewalk, and the Rebate Program, which OCB is responsible for its eligibility portion and helping facilitate the payments as well. So since its initiation in 2016, the Sidewalk Rebate Program has had a total of over 3,500 applications submitted. Currently, we have a total of 535 active applications, meaning that some applicants are in the middle of construction or they're applying for permits. Of the active applications, a total of 256 rebates have been accepted by applicants, and as of now, 337 people have actually completed the entire program and have renovated their sidewalks. I'd also like to add that as of October 1st, the city reopened its application process, and since October 1st, we have received roughly 200 new applications. So with social media presence and more outreach, we do anticipate that number continuing to rise.
Thank you, Ms. Weezer. I would just add, and maybe you'll confirm this, it seems like the rebate program has finally hit its stride.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah. As of a few months, we had over 1,000 people on the on the wait list.
Right.
And once we were able to clear that, we got it down to 0. We were able to reopen the program.
Right. Great. Thank you. Good work on that. It's getting more popular again.
Definitely.
And I remember when we did the re-up in October and sent notice out. So that's in basically a month you've had 200 more requests.
Yes, that's correct. So we do anticipate that number continuing to rise.
It's a bit more baked now, so people are more familiar with it. so.
I think we had a huge increase when the rebate amount actually went from 2,000 to 10,000. Overnight, we had over like 500 applications come in. So we had to put like a hold on it because the wait list was just over the roof. And now that we've reopened it, we're starting to get people to apply again.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, President. I just want to say congratulations to OCB for all the work that you guys have been doing out in the street, but also for this new method that you're doing where we get to see all your staff now. So thank you, Paul, for putting that together. It's nice to see you.
Not that we don't like you, Paul.
Yeah, we do like you, but you know, it's nice
good to see everybody.
Yeah, nice to see everybody doing and the folks that are out there. I just want to say that, you know, I was out there yesterday with Silmar Graffiti Busters and, you know, kind of seeing what they're doing, and they're very excited of the fact that we were able to get to some kind of a resolution and looking forward to what the RFP is going to look like and also what this new kind of middle piece that we have going on. So they were excited that we got to a place as well. So, and they're doing great, by the way. I was out there with them with some other, you know, looking to see what they do and stuff. So, I mean, they feel supported by your office, and that's important for them when they're out there in the middle of bushes and Silmar, which is the last city of the city. So they feel that there's a big connection with you guys too. So I wanted to share that because it was something that I heard new from Tom from Silmar Graffiti Busters.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Garcia. No other questions, the oral report will be received. Thank you all, have a nice weekend.
Thank you all too.
Moving along to our Streets LA team, our status update on major upcoming street improvement projects, Bureau of Street Services. Agenda item number 12. Mr. Herman has a card in on number 12. Did Mr. Herman come back in? He did not. So, Mr. Vargas, go ahead, sir.
Good morning, President James, commissioners, bureau reps, and city attorney and the executive officer. My name is Andrew Vargas with Streets LA, and I'm here to give the Streets LA Major Street Project update. This information is being provided to keep the public informed on the upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact on the community, as well as delays to the commuters. So the following projects are scheduled in the Metro resurfacing region. Thursday, November 7th and Friday, November 8th. From 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will cold mill Venice Boulevard from Normandy Avenue to Western Avenue. This is a complete streets funded project in CD10, United Neighborhood of Historic Arlington Heights, West Adams, and Jefferson Park community. November 9th, we will be paving that section of Venice Boulevard, again from Normandy Avenue to Western Avenue. Saturday, November 16th, and Sunday, November 17th, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will cold mill and pave Venice Boulevard from Vermont Avenue to Normandy Avenue. This is also a complete streets funded program in CD1, South Los Angeles Neighborhood Council. Saturday, also November 16th, and Sunday, November 17th, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will cold mill and pave Los Feliz Boulevard from Vermont Avenue to Western Avenue. This is a PPP funded program in CD4, Los Feliz Neighborhood Council. The following projects are scheduled in the Valley resurfacing region. Sunday, November 9th and Sunday, November 10th from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We will cold mill and pave Sepulveda Boulevard from Camarillo Street to Ventura Boulevard. This is a PPP funded project in CD4 in the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. Saturday, November 16th and Sunday, November 17th of this year, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we will cold mill and pave Los Feliz from Vermont to Western. Again, PPP funded in CD4, Los Feliz Neighborhood Council. We've included some slurry projects that are going to start November 9th. We're going to be slurring Main Street from Cesar Chavez to Aliso, PPP funded, in CD14 Downtown Neighborhood Council. Saturday, November 9th, we will also be slurring Main Street from Temple to 2nd, which is again a PPP funded in CD14 Downtown Neighborhood Council. The press releases were broadcasted. Notifications have been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with the council district offices to assist with the outreach to the stakeholders. And we have coordinated with Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. This concludes my oral report. Any questions?
Any questions at all? Thank you, sir. We always appreciate it. And just by way of the record, this information is also forwarded along to a number of different entities, including the entertainment industry, so that they are up to date on coordinating with your office and the work that they do as well. So we appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing me to present. Have
Thank
a great
you.
weekend.
The oral report we received. Mr. Knight, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, that is correct, President.
All right, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.